Ubisoft made the announcement that they're going to be delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows yet again, this time by an extra month because they say they need some more time to polish up the game. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that this will be enough for them, but one thing I am sure of is they need this game to succeed because I find it strange the timing of this announcement because in the past year or so, we've seen Ubisoft go through a lot of financial troubles with failed launches, and a lot of people are thinking that the company can't sustain themselves if Assassin's Creed Shadows is a bomb kind of on the level of Star Wars Outlaws. That's why there's been a lot of rumors about a potential buyout for the company with Tencent, a minority shareholder within Ubisoft, trying to jockey for more control over the company. There's currently, I think there's been discussions between Tencent and the Gamont family, who's in charge of Ubisoft right now, with who's going to have more control. The Gamont family obviously wants to retain control, but Tencent wants to have more control over it. And this announcement about them delaying Assassin's Creed in order to try to polish it up a little bit more came kind of on the heels of this announcement that the US government is placing Tencent on a blacklist because of their ties to the Chinese army. Now, this is not necessarily 100% the case, but it very much is the case because Tencent, for people who don't know, is a major Chinese tech company. And within their corporate office, I think it's like a quarter of the offices there are Chinese Communist Party members, which means they're not people who work for Tencent. They're people who work for the Chinese government, basically making sure that the company does what the party says that they have to do, because there's no real free companies when it comes to China. They're all basically just an extension of the Chinese government. And since the Chinese government controls the Chinese media, saying that they have a connection to the Chinese army, I'm saying Tencent has a connection to the Chinese army, would be kind of like saying the Postal Service or the US Postal Service has a connection to the US Army. And technically they kind of do because they're all part of basically the same organization, which is the government right there. And I think Ubisoft right now, after they heard this announcement, they were kind of worried because maybe the Gamont family was hoping that they could partner up with Tencent to buy out the company from shareholders if Assassin's Creed Shadows does tank. But now that they're seeing that there could be some other ramifications for this, because even though they're a French developer, if they're on that blacklist, because depending on how the deal is structured, they might have difficulty working with US based companies, which as a game developer, they probably have to do that pretty substantially. So I think once that news came out, they're like, okay, we really need, I mean, it was serious before, but we really need to make this game work. So that's why they're delaying it. But judging by what it seems like they're trying to do, I really don't have much faith that they're actually going to be able to pull this off. And I'll explain why in a moment. But first, let's look at this article from That Park Place. It's talking about the statement that Ubisoft put out, what they're trying to do with it, but I'll also say why I don't think it's really going to work for them. Assassin's Creed Shadows delayed again. Will this game be the end of Ubisoft? Ubisoft has delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows for the second time, pushing its release back to March 20, 2025, originally set for November 12, 2024, and later moved to February 14, 2025. The game's development continues to be plagued by delays. This game could be catastrophic for Ubisoft, and it's possible the company's very survival banks on it, given everything we've seen up to this point, along with the major decline in ongoing public sentiment. It's not looking good for the French developer. So over on Twitter, they put out this statement right here, so you can go over there and check it out yourself and see this article right here just kind of points out some of the highlights from it. It has been decided to provide an additional month for development of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft said this additional time will allow the team to better incorporate the player feedback gathered over the past 3 months and help create the best conditions for launch by continuing to engage closely with the increasingly positive Assassin's Creed community. This game is now scheduled for March 20th. And that's the whole purpose of why they delayed it to begin with, is to try to polish it up and fix some of the bugs, because when Star Wars Outlaws was released last year, there was a lot of issues upon launch. that kind of plagued it, and that was getting a lot of headlines. So they fixed it in patches, but they really weren't able to recover after a terrible launch. So I'm thinking in their minds that if they can have a solid launch with the game with no inherent problems with it, then they can have a successful game. But like I said, I don't think that's necessarily the issue when it comes to this. From Yves Guillemot mirrored the sentiment, emphasizing the game's ambition while attempting to soften the blow, saying, "We are all behind our team's efforts to create the most ambitious Assassin's Creed opus of the franchise and made the decision to provide an extra month of development to Shadows in order to better incorporate the player feedback gathered over the past 3 months that will enable us to fully deliver on the potential of the game and finish the year on a strong note." So they're thinking Star Wars Outlaws failed because of the bugs. I don't think that's the case when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws. I think there was a lot of other reasons. People were focusing on the DEI elements within the game as to why it failed, and that was a lot of the talk prior to the game being released. And a lot of the talk surrounding this one prior to its release was the decision to include Yasuke as a playable character, and also to kind of at best exaggerate his actual role in history, because historically he really wasn't a samurai, and by saying that he was, it's actually been offensive to many Japanese people, and they've been wanting to get this game pulled. Not huge, but I mean, it's gotten to the point where even government officials within Japan have wanted to get this game canceled because they find it offensive that they're trying to, I don't know, alter Japanese history for their game. And the Guillemot family has even, or not the Guillemot family, but other executives over at Ubisoft have even said that they understand pushing DEI and other things like that has been bad for their sales, but it's a cause that they actually believe in. So they want to continue with it, even if it is bad for them. So that's why I think they're still going to include Yasuke in the game, because a lot of people were saying when they first announced the delay, like, oh, maybe they're going to swap him out with someone else. And if they did that, I could actually see the game being a lot more successful. I think it would be goodwill to the gaming community to show, like, okay, you are listening to them. So we'll do what you want to do, and we'll see what happens with that. And I think there's people who would have otherwise not bought an Assassin's Creed game actually go out to buy this game to support it because of the result of that. Like, look at the Sonic movies. I know it's a little bit different medium and game franchise and everything like that, but when they first had the trailer for the first movie, people hated the design. They went back and fixed it. People were actually happy about that, and they're like, okay, well, good. You listened to fans. You showed respect, so we'll support your movie. And as a result, it's the first 3 movies have crossed $1 billion mark globally, and they have a 4th movie on the horizon. So it looks like if they are willing to listen to fans, I think that would show a lot of goodwill. But the few months delay that they had for this game, even this additional delay, isn't enough to actually swap out the character, I don't think. So I think they're really doing what they're trying to do, or say they're doing, which is just to fix bugs and other things like that. And since it is a big game, maybe they do need an extra month in order to fix that. But I don't think that's going to be enough to improve the game, because obviously that played a role in Star Wars Outlaws having such a poor launch, but it wasn't the deciding factor. And when it comes to this game, a lot of the sentiment surrounding it just has to do with the decision to include Yasuke as the playable character. That's why you go on to their trailers, and once you just see the trailers, those are getting ratioed, and that's what a lot of the feedback is for. So I don't think you can polish this up enough. I mean, this could be an immaculate game upon release, and I think there's still a large amount of people who would refuse to play because they don't want DEI decisions to be made for gaming. So maybe Ubisoft could actually, if they really needed this to succeed, then they could actually delay it even longer and swap out the rigs for the characters, and maybe make Yasuke a side character and have a Japanese person as the playable character. But just judging by statements from people at the company, they refuse to do that. So I think this is something that they're trying to basically put their best foot forward with these delays and with the launch that they're going to have. But I think that's going to be not enough for what they need for this one, especially considering how much money they spent on it. It's unlikely that it'll be a success, but I don't know. I could be wrong, and it could be surprising, and the game turns out to be really great, and everyone likes the how Yasuke is portrayed in it. But just looking at it right now, that's unlikely. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think the government's decision to put Tencent on the blacklist played any part in the decision to delay this, or do you think it's just coincidental? And also, do you actually think fixing bugs and things like that will be enough to make this game a success, or do you think it's pretty much dead on arrival if they have Yasuke as the playable character? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.